Hello, everyone. I am sorry that I'm a few minutes late, but I'm so excited to be here. I know we kind of took a commercial break, but those of you who've been in tune with what has been happening on here know that I've been away. So it wasn't just feasible to, fit all of these things around vacationing. So I'm back, super pumped and excited. I have my sister, Roberta, in the house, and we're here to talk about this story, which has been trending for quite a few days or weeks now, about Tonto Dikeh and her ex husband and her son, and all the issues that have ensued out of that, and the valuable lessons that we can learn as people, so that we can guide our lives and do things differently so that we can have better outcomes. Anybody on this platform knows, just as the name suggests, it's an educative platform. I don't care so much about the gossip and what happened and the ins and outs, but what are the lessons that we can learn? That's where my interest predominantly lies. And so, my brother Akwesi, Ike, Ben, I want to say happy good evening or good afternoon. I don't know where you guys are, but good morning, afternoon, or evening, whichever one is appropriate for you. So, without wasting any more time, I'm going to invite my guest, Ikuamua, aka Roberta, to the house to give us a gist of what has happened, and then we can draw the lessons that need to be drawn from there. My sister, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, Sika. Thank you. We just want to first say good afternoon to everyone, and good evening, no matter where you are. Good morning. If you're the other part of the world, what is already Monday, we just want to welcome you to the show this afternoon. We really appreciate you coming and joining us. Please don't forget to like, subscribe to Sika's YouTube channel, and then also like her page on Facebook. Please leave comments as well, so that we can create more content like this and other people can also learn from some of the things that we are discussing here. Okay. So just as Sika said, we are not going to get into the details of the gossip or who said this with it that when it comes to what has transpired the past 7 years between Toto DK and her ex-husband and some of the things that actually happened in her own life. We are really not interested in the minute details and all the craziness, right? But what we want to do is we really want to draw from it on some of the things that we have, some of the discussions we've had on this platform. And as Sika said, this is an educative platform where we want to learn, we want to draw lessons, right, from what has happened. And really, the skeleton of everything is Tonto DK met a guy, and they fall in love, and the guy represented himself as somebody, and Tonto Dike had accepted who he represented himself to be, right? And everybody knew the time that she had met him, she was in the prime of her career, and she was being quite popular. She's been, you know, being the Nollywood scene for more than a decade, right? So with this guy coming into her life and saying that he's something that he's not, eventually they get married, and she later found out that everything she's been sold is a lie. And that eventually leads to, there's also an accusation of, and there's videos as well, of DV as well. So, and then there's also betrayal, there's infidelity, right? And in the end, it leads to divorce, and then divorce, but there's a child involved. And what has transpired over the past few years since the divorce is anytime it's a child's birthday, or there's been instances where it's a child's birthday and she's celebrating her son, and somehow daddy also comes out and celebrate his son, and then the whole thing turns into a public nightmare. Okay. So, what can we learn from the things that has happened to us in the past? Whether it's betrayal, whether it is infidelity in our relationship, whether it is either our parents abandoning us, not taking good care of us, whether it's somebody we trusted walking out on us, or whether it's people like, taking advantage of you one way or the other. You can have friends who might have used you and dumped you, and we even see that in some of the relationship that Tonto Dikeh has um, encountered this past few years as well, where she's been friends with people, and in the end, they've turned back and stabbed her in the back and all those things, right? So all of these things are things that happens, right? And one of the things we have to establish, even the Bible says that no matter what will happen, there's always going to be offenses. Offenses will come, right? Even Jesus said that blessed is he who is not offended because of me, right? So no matter what happens, we are always going to run into a situation where we are finding ourselves in a situation like somebody like Tonto Dikeh. But how do we overcome all those things? It's important that we understand where our hurt already start from. Okay? It's because people who are hurt are likely to hurt others. Hurtful people hurt other people. Okay? That's why we see that in the case of when people have been sexually abused or anything, they themselves somehow have also been victims of that, right? So we always have to check the source of our hurt, right? Is it from childhood? Is it from something that we had encountered? Whether is it neglect? Is it rejection? We need to deal with all those things, because if we don't deal with them, it's very, very hard for us to really be in good and healthy relationship. And sometimes this not getting these things dealt with, we in turn transfer it onto us others, and sometimes transfer it onto our children. I mean, we all witness, the whole world witness, and we all have some people call receipts, right? If we go to her page right now, and you can read all the things that has transpired over the past 7 years in relation to this, and how this past 1 week it's been double amplified to the point that some people might think it's normal, but if you're looking at it from the outside, it's like, is this really normal? Is it a way we react? Is that how we're supposed to react, especially when we have been through a situation where we have a child involved, right? The child's friends might have access to social media. They might be reading, about this, they might be, talking about it, or even if the child is not reading, their parents could be talking about it, right? And sometimes we parents, we think that kids are so young and they don't know anything. But if you're a parent here, I'm challenging you. What? Just sit down, don't say anything, watch when your kids are talking to their friends. You'll be surprised the kind of things that they'll be talking about, right? So coming out in public and sometimes explosive, being very explosive about many things. Is it the right approach? Right? No matter how the hurt is, right? And the hurt, yes, it's a soul wound. It's something that is really, you could just tell is really deep, deep, deep inside her soul, right? But how does King how, in 2 years from now, how will Kim feel about the way the mom and dad display themselves, how they behave themselves? Because she might decide to take it down from the internet, but somebody probably already has a screenshot. Somebody probably has a video recorded, screen recorded, and all those things, right? Kid is going to grow up. He's going to go to high school. He's going to go to middle school. His friends are going to be talking about this, right? I'm not here to dump on anybody. I'm here to really think, really for us to discuss. some of the behaviors that we display as adults because we have been in a bad relationship, or we have bad relationship with our family, our mothers or our sisters, or is are we is there a better way where we can express our emotions, where we think about the repercussions in the future with the people around us, right? So when we're talking about this situation, we want to think about the future of kin. And I'll pause it here. Sika, it looks like you have something you wanted to say.
No, I was just agreeing with everything that you have to say. And like, a lot of people see Tonto as, oh, she's too much, she's a bit over the top, she's excessive. But you see, when you've been subjected to emotional pain, emotional wounds. My sister mentioned the whole DV stuff, the fact that she saw him in a certain light, only for it to all unravel and for her to realize that he wasn't that person or persona that he was trying to sell her for her to accept. It's a very painful thing. Deceit and somebody wearing a certain persona that they're not. They're all things that are very difficult for people to deal with. Divorce on its own is a very challenging thing that happens. I don't know any sane person who will say to me that they got into marriage thinking at the back of their minds that the marriage was never going to go to the end. No matter what the challenges and the differences between the two people in the marriage are, people always go into marriage because it's for better, for worse, and they want to stay in the marriage till death do them part. And so when things don't go the way that you had expected them to go, especially in our community where divorce is frowned upon, people have certain stereotypes and certain boxes that and tags that you get labeled with because you're a divorcee, you're a divorced woman. No, that the man that you made so much noise about, now you guys are not together anymore. Those things, they're all emotional wounds that a lot of us are carrying, that make us do things that to the outsider who doesn't really know what has gone on in the past won't understand what is happening. Why is she reacting in this way? Why is she overreacting? Why is she screaming? But it's because of years and years and layers upon layers of emotional stuff that has been dumped on this person. All of us know that when you have a can of Coke, I'll use that. That's the best analogy that comes to my mind right now. You have a can of Coke, and as long as the Coke is lying, whether it's a bottle or a can, and it's lying on a table and it's steady, it's fine. As soon as you start shaking it, guess what happens? Pressure is building up. Pressure is building up and building up and building up. The pressure has to go somewhere. So there comes a point when the bottle, the top or the lid of the can has to burst out because that pent up pressure in there has to escape somewhere. And that is what is happening with this young woman, right? The other thing that I wanted to mention is that social media never forgets. And so when people are doing things, especially social media and celebrities and all of those things, those are considerations that both parties in this whole thing, both Tonto and her ex, they all have to think about the damage that this is doing to their son. Because once you put it out there, it's out there. You can delete the videos all you want, but somebody might have downloaded your video onto their phone already. This video we're doing, somebody has probably done or is going to wait till it's done and download this video. If I choose that after this video is done, I'm going to delete it. Yes, it's not on my page anymore, but it's there. And somebody has it in their archives. And when the time for that person suits, they can now bring these things back as a weapon to destroy things. Can you think about the future when this guy, this young man, this boy becomes an adult and he now wants to be the president of Nigeria, for example? Now people are going to look at him and start painting him with brushes that have absolutely nothing to do with him because he couldn't control the situation or what his parents are doing and say, oh, he's not from a stable home. His mom is like this, his dad was like that. And so he doesn't qualify to honor or occupy this position. Like the point I'm making is that some of the things that we do as parents, as people who have been given such a huge burden of responsibility by God, by giving you the children as your, for you to be custodians of them and look after them, that you have a duty of care at all times, regardless of how you're feeling, to think about the long term. What is this thing that I'm doing? How is it going to be detrimental to this son that I purport to love so much? Right? And if there's some of us, and that's another thing that I really want to talk about, and it will be coming in the days and weeks that follow. I find that in our community and elsewhere, we as humans generally, regardless of what race and tribe you are, we are very reactive people. We react to situations. Sometimes when you're caught in an angry situation, every fiber of your being is telling you you have to shout. But if you just spared 10 seconds to take a deep breath, I guarantee you 99.9% of the time you change your mind about how you're going to react to that situation. Because it's a sudden outburst of that particular emotion. And then after 10 seconds, you recollect yourself. And then you go into thinking mode. How is me besting out going to solve this problem? But you've already done it. And the words and the things that you said in anger, you can't take them back. The damage has already been done. And so, it's very difficult to deal with reactive people. And if you know that you're listening to me and you're that sort of a person, you really need to get help. You see, a lot of us are carrying emotional scars that we don't even want to. It's kind of like we've put it in our subconscious. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to talk about it, but it is there. And those are the things that are, not really helpful and exhibiting itself in ways that people don't even understand. My sister, are you there? I don't want to take over this conversation. So I'm just going to pack it here.
Uh,
Let you continue.
thank you, Sika. Really, and that brings me to the main thing that I want us to talk about: exercising emotional intelligence. Okay, regardless, there's always, like, statistics shows that like 50% of all marriages will end up in divorce, right? So getting into a relationship and ending up with someone who is either not financially responsible for you and the children, or has abandoned you with the children, and you have you there's like they are nowhere to be found, is something that, even if you're in love today, you're most likely, you still have about 30 to 40% chance of finding yourself in a situation where you're no longer with the person that you thought you're going to spend the rest of your life with, right? So it's important that I know we spoke about emotional intelligence, and I just really wanted us to tie that lesson we did a couple of weeks ago. And if you haven't, you can go back and watch the video. And, we talked about emotional intelligence as the ability to recognize, control, and understand your emotions. And
Mhm.
this is something that you can use in different aspects of your life. And in this case, this is something that is needed,
Mm,
something that was really, really needed.
mm,
Okay.
mm,
And I know we spoke about many the different components of emotional intelligence. We're not going to talk about it. If you want to know, please go watch the other video. But I just wanted to pick on one of the components that I think that is important when it comes to this situation: self-awareness.
mm,
Self-awareness. We need to be self-aware.
Yeah.
right? We need to be able to understand ourselves and our emotions. Okay. In this situation, the mother should know, and I know the dad knows the buttons that he pressed to get her to lose control, right? But if she's really aware that he wants to do something to get her triggered so that she will lose control of herself, and that can only happen if she has self awareness, right? Because self awareness will help you not to get angry, not to easily get yourself like embarrass yourself or behave in a behavior that you behave so negatively and make negative decisions, right? And sometimes people think that coming out there and changing words for words with people, hurtful words, they say you're ugly and I say you're ugly too, and they say you're fat and I say you're fat too, they think they're helping themselves. You're not helping yourself. You're engaging in unhealthy emotional roller coaster. And at the end of the day, someone is going to end up more scarred than they came before, right? So that's self awareness, knowing what you can control and what is out of your control. What is out of her control is him going to post his son to wish him happy birthday on every year that is his birthday, right? What she can control is maybe when this happens and people bring it to my attention or I find out, I politely tell them, I'm aware he's going to do this. That is his space, right? And I have my space, right? At the end of the day, you don't have control over his social media, right? You don't have control about what he does, but you have control about what you do, right? And when we are not self aware and we continue to push ourselves to a place where we behave in lot of unhealthy behaviors, because people think it's healthy that yes, you have the right to defend yourself, but your right to defend yourself should be healthy, right? It should be healthy. It should not end up hurting you and hurting others. In this case, kin, right? Because honestly, like I have young kids, and sometimes the things I hear them discuss, it shocks me, right? Like you, they will come and say, "Oh, do you know so and so's parents are getting a divorce?" I'm like, "Huh? How did you know about that?" Oh, they were talking about it, right? Like the other day, one of them came to me and said, "Oh, did you know that so they just got their Canadian citizenship?" And by the way, what is Canadian citizenship, right? So, and that's my 8 year old are telling me that, right? So, kids pick on things and they take it with them to their homes, right? So, kids' friends in school, their parent might be talking about in their living rooms, right? And they'll be like, oh, and the mom said the dad did not even pay for diary, he owes her money, and the dad does not pay for his school fees, his mom is the one taking care of him, and the dad lied, and then did you know that the dad said somebody that was the sister is now his wife? They'll be talking about all this. How would that child now feel around their friends, right? So self-awareness is something that is very, very, very important when we find ourselves in those situations. And I know a lot of women, a lot of men, every single day, as this moment as we're speaking, someone is finding themselves in the exact situation. But the ability for you to have self-awareness so that you do not engage in unhealthy behavior. Because sometimes what people don't know is that you know that if you don't take time, you can be so angry that you can actually suffer a heart attack, or you can go into a state of you can get stroke from being so angry, right? So it's very important that we understand the health implication as well, right? And then the thing is that before you come out there and be saying all these things, you be rehearsing it in your mind, and the more you rehearse it, the more the wound gets deeper. It's like you are keeping your wound alive, and making feeding it with a lot of bacteria, so your infection gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
Correct.
Nobody is saying that people should take advantage of you, but you need to learn to walk away.
That's right.
You need to walk, you now need to learn to walk away. You need to learn to know when you're no longer what? Welcome, right? So you need to really recognize that. And the other thing, when we talk about exercising emotional intelligence, is like we need to recognize, we need to have a place where we self-regulate,
Mm-hmm.
right? We need to self regulate, right? You have to know, have an ability for you to manage our emotions and the way they impact our thoughts and our behaviors, right? And that could be very, very, very crucial. And for people like us that are very reactive, if you're a very reactive person, this is something that you have to be intentional about, that you have to practice self regulation, because you have to know, example, if you're that kind of person that maybe you go to work, there's this supervisor that is always making getting on your last nerves, right? You have to be able to say, okay, what does this person do that gets on my last nerves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How can I manage it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's the same thing, as I said, she needs to come to the realization that on that child's birthday, they have 50-50 chances of him posting, right? Right? So she needs to understand that's going to happen. And she needs to understand that if that happens every year, am I going to be coming out with receipts and videos, right? Right? Because the thing about always putting yourself in a place where you continuously tell your story, after a while your story gets worn out, because your story becomes what? Common knowledge, right? And sometimes some of us, we don't know that instead of us putting ourselves in a place where we always want people to empathize with us, we can also put our place where we ourselves use our wounds as a healing to heal others and to reach out to others. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's it it it's a she can really turn this whole situation into a very positive light, to really, to her own benefit, right? And to the benefits of kings. Like, you know what? Your mom can still raise you. Your mom can still take care of you. Your mom can still do great things for you, right? So that the child will now be able to have the love. Because honestly, I felt like his birthday was taken away from him. Even if she had a birthday party for him, it still would not make it, because the cloud of darkness, right? And there's nothing worse as two people who have themselves together. And one of the things God is like, the fruit of the womb is a reward, right? So you have a gift, but you're murmuring about your gift, right? You're doing the best you can, but at the same time, the cloud of murmuring, hurt, betrayal, always overshadowing that child's birthday, right? So it's important that we learn to self regulate.
Mm.
Self regulation is important. It has implication, right?
Yeah.
You've been a victim of DV, my dear. Use your mouthpiece as a way to support women who are going through DV, women who have been abandoned, that have been single mother, right? There are so much great things that she's doing, but there's many great things that she could do to rechannel that energy and turn it into positivity and give herself that strong, good mental health. A lot of women, it's not just her, a lot of women are overly emotional, and we don't self regulate. We don't check on ourselves. We don't check on the implication that our overreaction has on our children, because they are
Mm.
watching and they cannot
Mm.
be better than us, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
if you, the mother, you are doing this, right? when he goes to school and then he comes back and say, "Oh, um, so your son said these things to somebody. Your son called this person this and that and that and that." What are you gonna say as a mother? Your son can say, "But mommy, you and daddy last time were just doing this and that to yourselves, right? How are you going to defend us?"
Mm,
Right?
mhm,
So that's very important, right? So
mhm,
it's important that we really self regulate.
mhm,
I
mhm.
wanted to pause here before I go on my very last
Yeah,
point. So I want to pause here
yes.
then.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say, and it's just a quick one through here. When you were talking about self-regulation, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it, but I faced a situation a couple months back. And it brings on to the point for me that having accountability partners in your life is absolutely crucial. I wouldn't describe myself as a reactive person, but at the same time, when you've been through a certain event and there's dumping, as I was describing with the Coca Cola can or bottle scenario, the pressure becomes too much and it has to come out somehow. But for these accountability partners that I have in my life, people that I have so much regard and respect for, and because of that, every time I'm going to do something, I think about those people. How would those people feel? What would those people think if they turned on their camera or phone to see that this girl that they love so much in May has done a certain thing? It helps me to self regulate. Sometimes having self regulation as a person by itself, depending on what the situation is, it's not enough. You need to also have accountability partners. And the people who are those accountability partners, they know themselves. If they watch this video, they will know who I mean. They know themselves. You have to, there has to be certain people in your life that I wouldn't say you are afraid of, but you just have so much reverence and regard for those people to the point where it helps you to pause and say, this thing, no, I don't have to do this said thing. And it makes you stop whatever it was that came to your mind. And to be honest with you, after a few minutes or hours or whatever, once you've calmed yourself down, you can pat yourself in the back and say, oh, yeah, I did this. Because, but for these people in my life, I would have made a shambles of everything because the pressure at that time was just too much. We're all human beings. I just want to use this point to illustrate the fact that horrible things happen to the best of us. You know, sometimes people see you and they think that you have it all together and this, that, and the other, and nothing negative ever happens to you. No, it isn't about the fact that people on social media that you see laughing and smiling and also not going through the same life events that everybody else is going through. But the difference has to be with how you choose to respond and react to the situation in which you find yourself. If I had not had these accountability partners in my life at that time, I would have made a shambles of everything, not because of anything other than the pressure was just too much. And so sometimes the people that you surround yourself with matters too. I don't know who Tonto Dikeh's friends are, but if Tonto had people that were accountability partners in her life, that she revered and had so much respect for, that might also be able to help her to know how to channel, as my sister was saying, channel some of this anger and pent up emotion into positive minded things that actually help you transform your very life. My sister, I'll leave you to to wrap this up for us.
Okay.
Have me going.
So yeah, turn your pain into pepper. She says that the lady needs healing from her soul. She's pouring her hurt to destroy her own son. yes, she does need healing for her soul. And sometimes I really want to touch on this unforgiveness. Unforgiveness. A lot of us have people we are holding in our hearts, right? But you know that unforgiveness is a poison that poisons your soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's a poison that destroys your destiny. Not the
Mm-hmm.
destiny of the person you're holding in your heart, but yourself. Unforgiveness can destroy your destiny. It can hold you back. It can destroy a generation. So it's very, very important that if we find ourselves in such situation, the key thing really is we want to learn to forgive. And when you are unforgiving, you become bitter. And
Mm-hmm.
because you are bitter, bitterness can easily cause cancer,
Mm.
right? It can cause diseases. If you don't know, do research on it. And you'll find out there are a lot of sicknesses that can come about because you are holding someone in your heart, someone in your spirit. So it's important that we understand that healing for our souls is very, very important and is also a key component of how we set ourselves free and how we build emotional what intelligence as well, right? And the last thing that I really wanted to talk about and uh is for us to learn to practice mindfulness.
Mm.
Mindfulness, right? So the reason why we see her and um actually, before I was gonna say that, I forgot something I was gonna say that just came back. That Sika said, you said that if she act accountability, right? And I will tell you, Sika, I don't think Tonto Dikeh has good friends around
Mm-hmm.
her.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have friends who love her. She
Mm.
doesn't even have friends who love her enough to love her son,
Mm.
right? Because when you have friends who love you, they will help in your healing process,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So those of you who didn't if you haven't listened to the our thing on emotional intelligence, go back because we had a social component as well. Go back and listen to it, right? Because if she had good friends, they would have helped her heal.
Mm.
And by now, this wound, instead of being so big and really explode in 2023, 7 years after the fact, this wound would have now be just very minute in her life. She would
Mm-hmm.
have easily dismissed it, right? They would not have amplified it. In fact, they would not have allowed her to drag herself on the internet for over 24 hours on something as that started off as simple as a birthday wish, right? So she really needs to, when we find ourselves, and I know there's a lot of women out there and men out there that find themselves in this situation. If you find yourself in a situation whereby you be in a broken relationship and because of bitterness and unforgiveness, you've neglected your child, or you are hiding your child away from your spouse, right? Please exercise good emotional intelligence. Reach out to your partner. Learn to forgive, right? Because at the end of the day, no matter where you hide that child, that one day that child is going to go back to that parent. You cannot hide them forever. And one of the things that you also have to know as an individual, you might never be there for the child all your life,
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be a time whereby because let's just take for example like the Canadian court system, right? If a child ends up in the hands of the government, the first thing they do is they look for the next of kin, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you, the child having a father or a mother and you having custody, don't think it's the end and all. God forbid anything happens, that person that you think is irrelevant because they've not been paying school fees, they've not been paying child support, they are going to be the first people that the government will call. I know
Mm.
someone who was in the situation whereby they had a child, they neglected the child. The child now have a child and
Mm.
left the child when the child now had a child, so that would be his grandson, right? Do you know that the Canadian system, they called him? They called him and said, "Oh yeah, you have a grandson."
Come and take your
So
grandson.
come and take your grandson, right? And this actually just happened. So I'm just saying this so that I know we are laughing, but these are things that happens, right? So don't let your emotions take over everything. Don't let it cloud everything. And this story I'm talking about, this is something that happened almost 20 years ago. And, out of nowhere, the Canadian government started calling everybody, say, "Oh yeah, hey," they even, so let us exercise emotional intelligence, because the child that you're busy, holding on and fortifying, and "I won't let you see your dad, I'm not going to his deadbeat, I'm not let you see your mother," I just starting quarrel and bringing all of those things and going the whole 9 yards over, if something is to happen and you're not around, are you leaving a smooth transition for your child? Or are you leaving your child in such a situation whereby they have nothing to fall back on, that they will end up on the streets, right? So it's important that we really overthink some of these things and not just think of it. And that brings me back to how we have to practice mindfulness. What is
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness? Mindfulness is living in the moment.
Mm.
Okay? Living in the moment. So when you live in the moment, you don't remember what happened 5 minutes ago, right? You turn to enjoy what is happening. And I believe that if she had practiced mindfulness, she'll be so happy about the fact that today is my son's birthday. It is my son's birthday weekend, right? And this is all about him. It's not about what his dad did to me, or what lies or whatever transpired. You know, this is about my child, right?
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
is the moment. We have to learn to leave the moment. And what mindfulness does is that it helps us get rid of anger.
Mm.
It helps us get rid of anxiety, right? Because it helps you focus, right? Because if you're busy having a birthday party for your child and you're busy on your social media, what did he say about me? So that I can also retaliate, right? What did he say? Okay, me too. This is what I have. I'm dropping receipts, right? And then the bickering goes back and forth. You are not practicing mindfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
way that you allow yourself to check on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know and so that you are in tune with your emotions, right? I was in a class a few weeks ago on how we can practice mindfulness, and one of the exercises they made us do, just close your eyes, you know, and just forget about everything that's going on around you. And then from there, if you do that for about a few moments, if maybe a minute or so, from there, then you react, right? You realize that because you paused, your reaction is not going to be as
Mm.
you would have reacted, because you just decided to practice mindfulness, living in the moment, focusing on what you are doing, right? Not easily getting distracted about, "Oh, did you see what he said about you? Oh, did you see what he posted on social media? He has a new girlfriend now." Then your emotion starts getting, "Oh, I will not let my child go and meet that," so that you go, and then that woman, so all of those things, right? Mindfulness, all of us, we need to practice. Some of us, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to pay child support. If I pay child support, she will now go use it to go carry another man." All those things, you're not practicing mindfulness. You're not helping yourself, right? So it's important that we practice mindfulness. Mindfulness can help you quiet your mind and acknowledge the emotions you're feeling without judgment. And that in itself will help you improve your emotional intelligence. So
Mm.
that is what I will say. It's important that we learn to live in the moment, right? And when we can't control ourselves, where we reach the point where we go into what I call public dragging, right? For the sake of our children, let's go and get help, right? Let's get help because we want to have stable emotions, stable mindset, healthy mindset, so that we are also able now to be there for the children that we are trying to protect. And we also have to be to the point whereby we have to know, where does the protection of our children start and where does our own emotional roller coaster end, right? So that we don't overshadow them, right? And we also don't end up raising over emotional children,
Mm,
because whatever we are putting out is what you are also seeing,
that's right.
right? We cannot expect them to be any different from the way we are, right? So dragging their father, dragging their mother out there. Please, parents, be careful on social media. These things have implication mentally, especially for children of nowadays. They're not, their skins are not as tough as ours, right? Some child might see all of this dragging. We have children who are as young as 9 year old, you know, taking their own lives into their own hands. So please, parents, be aware. If you no longer want to be with your spouse, one day you guys will lovey-dovey, find your place of commonness and just quietly just move on. Move on quietly, move on peacefully, and don't be dragging each other. Whether, even if it's not on social media, don't drag each other over the phone. Don't drag each other through, like, physically. So, Sika, do you have something to say?
All I want to say is that at the end of the day, people go into relationships for the best reasons, but things don't actually turn out always how you had anticipated them to, because it's life. It happens to the best of us. You can have the best of intentions, but the only person you can control in the relationship is you. You can't decide for, like, there's no art to tell the mind's construction in the face. You don't know what the other person is thinking or feeling. And so we go in with the best of intentions and hoping that things have the best outcomes, but they don't always end up like that. And if they don't, appreciate and yes, recognize that you're in pain. Get the help that you need to heal so that you can turn that painful situation around and actually use it as a strength to move yourself forward. Because regardless of marriage, no marriage, pain, no pain, you still have a destiny that is calling on you. God is looking up to you to fulfill that destiny, and you shouldn't allow anything to hold you back or stop you from being the best version of yourself possible. My darling, I just want you to wrap this up here. We've only got a few minutes left. I will leave you to finish this off. I'm not going to say another word. It's all down to you now.
Okay. So one of the, I think the last word is, and then going back to what Faluk is saying, some of us find it very difficult to forgive others, right? And why not forgive and free yourself from all the heavy burdens around our neck? It's important for us to know that unforgiveness is a heavy load, right? And because of unforgiveness, you you somehow end up not taking responsibility for your own parts, your own offenses,
Mm,
right? There's no need for you to make a list of offenses and for you to um continue and really to really wrap it up, right? One of the things I would say, and I don't mean to I just need to exercise pardon in ness here in terms of Tonto Dikeh, right? And if she ever get to hear this, if she continues like this, How does she expect anybody to come into her life and love her,
Mm.
respect her,
Mm.
honor her, and
Mm.
make a woman out of her if she continues like this? Because you're giving out so much negative energy, right? And whatever you give out is whatever you attract, right? So because of that, the only people that are going to come around her are people who also are hurt themselves and are looking to hurt others. Because remember, I said when we started, hurtful people hurt what? They hurt others, right? So if she wants to come to a place of healing, she will also be able to now attract someone who is also in it for healing and for restoration, right? So it, that is what she needs to do for herself, right? Because there's going to be a day that, she might know she had her son abroad. I'm sure she wants to, if she needs to renew his passport, daddy has to sign, because I know this part of the world, uh, if you need your
Mm.
passport, they don't
Mm.
care whether the daddy is missing for 300 years. They
Mm.
want his
No
signature
signing, no
on that.
passport.
No
Mm.
signing, no passports. They don't care whether you guys don't talk or you guys don't. Because this, I know somebody who has been through that, right? And she didn't
Mm.
even know what the man had, because she didn't know whether he was in South America. She had no idea where the guy was, right? But she couldn't take her son out of the country because of that situation, right? So there's so much other implication, right? So is there a way where we can come to, nobody said you should forgive somebody and start being lobby lobby with the person. You don't
Mm.
have to. But
Mm.
in order for you to believe civil, this one said forgiveness so we can be civil with one another, right? So it's important that we think that you will have to come to a place where you heal, right? For civility to reign,
Mm.
because no amount of dragging will will help anybody. It's not going to help your child, because
Mhm.
sometimes you might need that passport for your child to go somewhere, to go to an adventure. I know some high schools, before you graduate, some of them will go to Paris or they go somewhere. So there's so much things ahead of your child for you to continue the dragging, right? So let's practice mindfulness. Let's be self-aware. Let's self-regulate. Whether you were a man or a woman going through any broken relationship, especially when there's a child involved, please don't drag yourself on social media, because social media never forgets. Be very, very mindful. Don't be sending each other audios as well. All of these things, we all have to be mindful, we have to be focused, and we have to try and channel positive energy, positive attitude towards some of the most difficult things, most difficult wounds that we
Mhm.
we we go through every day.
Mm.
That's why, when we say the Lord's Prayer, it says what, you know we should forgive others their sins that they have done. God said we ask for forgiveness, and so that He can also what so that if,
Forgive
if
us.
God forgives that, we also what forgive others what their trespasses. There's a reason why when Jesus was teaching His disciples to pray, He made forgiveness one of the key components of the Lord's Prayer. And I want all of us to take that with us.
Mm.
Let's practice mindfulness. It's very, very, very important. When we find that we're going to lose it, we should just take a moment and pause
Mm.
and breathe in and breathe out, and then after, we move on to the next step. And
Mm.
that's all I'm going to say. Please don't forget to share this, subscribe to Seekers Educate's YouTube channel as
Mm.
well, and also provide feedback. Did you learn anything? Is there something else that you would like for us to talk about? Any topic that you think would be great for us to discuss on this platform? We want to hear from you. We don't want to be the only ones, talking. We just want to hear. We want to get feedback from you guys. Are we doing a good job? Let us know. Are we doing a bad job? Did we say something you disagree with? please let us know.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
all.
you so much, my darling. Thank you so much. I'm not going to say nothing else. I'm just going to leave it here, pack it in. You guys go think about all the things that we've talked about today. And next week we'll come again. I just want you guys to help me say a big thank you to my sister. She comes week in, week out. It's not easy. She's a mom, a wife. She works. She has a profession. She has a non-profit. It's not a joke. I just want her to know we all love her so, so much. And so, thank you so much, my sister, for being here. Guys, have a fantastic week ahead. God bless you all. And my sister Kwama, if you've got any last thing, because I saw that you wanted to say something, say it and let's go.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you all for joining us.
Have a lovely week ahead, guys. Take care. God bless you. Mwah. Bye bye.